weird. And you had Spider-Man stopping an evil billionaire from mind controlling people. Now, pretty much this villain, Edward Byron, he's pretty much Mr. Faustus. Dr. Faustus, sorry. But yeah, he's just Faustus. Just give him a green jacket, give him red hair, beard, and glasses, and it's Faustus. Pretty much get Spider-Man vs. Faustus. We couldn't find the Spider-Man vs. Kraven the Hunter film, but we got fighting Dr. Faustus. So that's cool. Anyways, yeah, this movie's okay. On to the next one. Number 10. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Rise of Electro. Yeah, you all saw this coming. Or Rise of Electro as it's known here in Australia. I was not thrilled when I first saw this movie. When I first saw this movie, 9 years ago. Jeez, I'm old. But pretty much I was hyped. I loved Amazing Spider-Man, and I was a huge Spider-Man fan, in that sort of sense. Plus, it's only been a year since Lego Marvel Superheroes has been released, and a lot of my friends had a bunch of cool Lego minifigures at the time. One was Dr. Octopus. And I was very excited, because, this movie had everything. Electro, it had Rhino, and at the same time, I was watching Spectacular Spider-Man, which introduced me to some Spider-Man villains I know, like Electro and Rhino. But, unfortunately, I was bored out of my mind and disappointed at the lack of action, or just lack of actual character development in that sort of sense. And I hated this movie for years. But, in retrospect, outside of knowing that Andrew Garfield was fired midway through production due to him being unable to visit a Sony event due to him being sick last minute, and apparently due to some director arguments, and actually finding a accumulation of deleted scenes, I realized that this movie sucks at the expense of everyone's creative skills being thrown out the garbage. Everyone knows this, but Sony wanted this to be the start of a new Marvel Cinematic Universe. They wanted a bunch of Spider-Man films. They were going to make a spin-off Sinister Six movie, and occasionally have spin-off movies about all six members. And they just wanted it to be a franchise, because Marvel was already doing a Marvel Cinematic Universe at the time, and it was still left ambiguous whether or not Amazing Spider-Man was in the canon, because it came out in the same time as the Avengers, and people were just stumped. Eventually, they did announce that Spider-Man was in the MCU, with Tom Holland appearing in the canon in Captain America Civil War in 2016, but initially, this movie is just a bunch of things forced. And after seeing the deleted scenes, and which actually had valid explanation for everything, and was actually a much better and well-structured, it made me really sad. The fact that this possibly great movie was just forced into something it shouldn't have been. Just because a studio wanted it to be everything, and yet it ends up as nothing. Andrew, you're still probably my favorite live-action Spider-Man. And Dane DeHaan, I don't blame you, dude. This was a very hard thing to digest. And I like the idea of a new mutant goblin, and Paul Giamatti was fun. And I'm glad that eventually, after years, Jamie Foxx's Electro was given more time to develop. And he wasn't so bad. I sort of understood it. That he became overwhelmed with electricity, that the voices in his head started tearing him apart, and the electricity powers didn't really help, because he was now physically tearing himself apart. I feel like everything just could have been a lot better, but then again, I can't really be a hypocrite and say I can do better. I'm not getting paid to write scripts like most movie writers are. So, I'm sorry. This movie could have been so much. Rest in peace, my underrated, lesser-known beauty. Number 9. Alright, hot take. Everyone's gonna hate me. Considering the fact that I just talked about Amazing Spider-Man 2, you probably expecting Spider-Man 3 in this spot? But no, it's Spider-Man Far From Home. Okay, I get it. I'm sorry. But when I first watched it, I thought it was okay. Then when I watched it a second time, I hated this film. And I did for a while. And then I rewatched it a while back. And I'm thinking, this film is okay. Now, this film is pretty good. Has pretty good effects. And has some really funny moments. And it is important to the MCU part of the Spider-Man trilogy. Sorry, the MCU Spider-Man trilogy. Let me say that again. But I did not like this film, and here's why. I thought the hologram stuff was bullshit. I thought the whole subplot around Darren taking a photo and Peter almost killing him over it with a drone, I thought that was fucking stupid. Nick Fury and Maria Hill are useless, and the fact that they're Skrulls makes them even more useless. Thanks, Dick Fury. I don't mind Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I think he's pretty good as both a fake hero and as a villain.